this idea of how much time is actually required, what is really sufficient knowledge, starts to come into question when you get into this rapid training. And then, of course, the teacher training part is something that a lot of people generally understand some of the core concepts. You're looking at things like, how do you make a good lesson plan? How do you manage a classroom? How do you actually set up the environment that students are going to learn in? And so there's a lot of different concepts that go into teacher training, whether you're trying to teach someone in a week, in a summer, or in a year. Yeah, go on. And grab it down too. Has anyone heard of the phrase rapid teacher training before? Okay. So basically, everyone that I've told it's a phrase has heard of it, and everyone that I haven't has not. I think it's because I made it up, because it turns out it's a top Google hit, and that was after a couple of weeks of the site existing. So I'm pretty sure I made up the word. It doesn't make it any less valid, just saying. So, getting at the need for rapid teacher training, where did it even come from? Why does Teach for America and programs like that exist? One thought is that there's a lot of bad teachers out there, and in some ways, we need to have an alternative way to train teachers. But one of the bigger reasons is actually that there's just not enough teachers in some of these really struggling schools. If you go into urban areas, they're really doing everything they can to fill positions. They're using emergency licensure procedures just to get people standing up in front of the classroom. And so Teach for America, in a lot of ways, is kind of a stopgap measure. And a lot of these other programs are solving a temporary need. It's not necessarily that it's ideal to have this rapidly trained teacher up there in front of the classroom. It's just that a rapidly trained teacher is better than an untrained teacher or no teacher at all. So for this project, starting to get a general sense of what could it mean. I threw out Teach for America, but what other organizations exist out there? Kaylin was part of Explo, where you, over the course of the summer, are basically somewhat of a summer camp format, teaching kids something. And there's lots and lots of educational summer camps, some people call them smart camps, that are out there, and a number of you probably were at them at some point in your life. Match Corps is an organization that, as part of a charter school, they have college graduates come in for a full year and just work as tutors. So every student in the school will spend 2 hours a day with a tutor, and it's that one-on-one attention that differentiates that school and helps them make really rapid gains in the student learning culture there. So in that case, you're being trained over a 2-week period to be a really effective tutor for an entire school year. City Year is a volunteer program in the Boston area that includes some teaching positions, whether you're in a classroom as a tutor or a teaching assistant, you're someone in there who is working with kids on a daily basis and volunteering. And there's training that comes with that. And then I just threw in R2 training as something that I've done that has prepared me to have very specific skills in a very condensed training period. And it's programs like that that are really similar when applied to more general teaching. So who are the people that generally fill these positions and enter these programs? And for the most part, it's college graduates. And I believe I've seen numbers where it's 1 in 10 people from some of the top liberal arts colleges are applying to Teach for America. And these programs are just getting filled with lots and lots of college graduates. Some of them who want to just give back, some of them that are really interested in teaching and think this is a better way to get into it, and some of them who don't have a job and want to find something meaningful to do and think this is a great opportunity. So getting specific to the actual project that I did, like I said, I want to make it easier to build or improve a rapid teacher training program. And so the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to find the common attributes in a bunch of the existing programs that are already out there. I want to build a guide on how do you design this new program, or how do you modify your existing one. I want to test out these ideas at Olin, because that's where I am, and everyone loves to test stuff. And then I want to share whatever I'm doing with the world so that other people can actually benefit from it. So getting back at these organizations, the first thing I wanted to do, being typical Olin student, was go out and actually interview people. So every one of those organizations that I was able to find 1 or 2 people that I could get a hold of their 2.5-inch thick training binder and basically ramsack through and pretty much steal all of their ideas from that. And it worked out real well. Teach for America, I was lucky enough to get a bunch of photocopies of useful documents that they use in their planning, and so stole a bunch of their ideas. Pretty much just going out and taking whatever information people would give me and trying to synthesize it and post it out for people to use. And in order to do that, I needed to throw it up on the wiki. So the wiki was one of the first things I actually built near the beginning of the semester, and by built, I mean I signed up for a free account on Wiki Educator and just started creating a page. And at first I had almost no idea what I was doing. I was kind of slapping down a lot of stupid text. And over time, it was slowly evolving into something that made a little bit more sense. It was kind of going the opposite direction of Chen's work as she was describing it, and trying to start with something that made almost no sense to anyone but myself and slowly add to that. So once I had some basic ideas, I Facebook stalked everyone, threw up their pictures at 4 a.m. And then proceeded to design a rapid teacher training program that would be beneficial to a group of Olin students. And one of the problems I had starting out with that was that the actual program that I was trying to design that would be helpful for them had to change a lot as their needs changed. So it kind of started out where there was this book called Teach Like a Champion. It came out actually only 6 months ago. It lists 49 specific teaching techniques, and I thought it would be a really good place to start with the group because it was very specific, concrete. We could do actual role plays as a group and start to practice some kind of useful technique that would be helpful for them in their teaching or tutoring. And at the time, they were tutoring at a charter school in Worcester. By the 3rd week of the thing, I was planning to start to talk about classroom management and discipline and things like that, different discipline systems in different schools, specifically the one that they were working in at the time. The problem was is that the target had moved because they were no longer at the charter school because of some things completely out of their control. So trying to figure out what to do there and adapt with it was interesting. All at the same time, it was originally planned on a Friday afternoon to be in more of a classroom setting. Because of the strained Olin schedule, we ended up working on it over lunch period instead, and it kind of ended up being in an open area. So the environment, the content, everything was changing under my feet. And the target just seemed to keep moving. But the nice thing about the moving target was it allowed me lots and lots of practice with asking, what is the most useful thing I can teach the students in my group right now? They're being rapidly trained teachers, and the whole point of this rapid training that I was starting to learn was that you had to make it as specific to their needs as possible. So if I was going to customize it to their needs, and their needs were constantly changing, I got to reevaluate this every week. So it was a great opportunity to do exactly what I wanted to do. So getting back to that group, by the end we were able to have more of a discussion format, because at that point it seemed to be one of the more useful things that we could do with the group instead of specific techniques for a school that they weren't working at when they all had slightly different aims. So after all this, back to the wiki. And this isn't just the second stop of the wiki. I was stopping here almost multiple times per week. After every interview, I was posting interview notes. A lot of those went back to and revised those and tried to give some more context for why they existed. The actual guide, why the guide was there, what the guide was showing people how to do, who my audience was, which was, I think, slowly becoming someone who's designing one of these programs, not someone who's going to say, oh, I don't really know what rapid teacher training is, I want to learn more about it, things like that. So being able to start to focus on an audience and whatnot was really important. The other cool thing about the wiki is that once I sent someone the link, they could check it whenever they wanted and had the most recent version. And every time I updated it, they could see that. Every time I did something, process, because instead of getting writer's block, it was throw a bunch of crap down because then having some content will explain this area. Go fix this, try to explain why that content was there, then make this readable. Someone else goes to the site and says, I don't know what's going on. Okay, redo the homepage. It was a very cyclical thing, and it worked out real well. All right, so I just rambled a whole bunch, but hopefully you learned at least a few things. First thing is that rapid teacher training, the only reason the rapid part works is because it's highly focused, and you need to look at what your trainees are trying to be able to do in their job, in their teaching role, and design for them. My guide, my core components that I was abstracting, the practice sessions at Olin, all were focused towards that end goal that I didn't completely understand at the beginning, but now I realize the reason that the rapid is possible is because of that tight focus. Second thing, beta test. If I want to have been teaching that class to the Olin students who graciously volunteered their time to someone who had no idea what they're doing, I wouldn't have been able to learn a lot of the things that I did about how effective my guide was, if my core components had any real meaning, things like that. If I had just designed this in a vacuum and said, oh, I'm going to teach this next semester, how irrelevant my curriculum would have been, even if it was irrelevant after a week or two, it just would have been completely out of date, not useful, and I wouldn't have gotten that feedback cycle to help me with the project. And third thing, wikis are awesome. If you're doing any kind of project that involves a lot of writing, especially if you're someone who doesn't think linearly and you want to just throw things out there and form relationships between content, I found that the wiki structure worked really well, and then having it really easy for lots of people to give you constant feedback whenever it's convenient for them and see the most recent version was also really useful. And so I just had this stream of feedback when I didn't expect it that I could start to do something with and really improve my writing. So, any questions?
Do you think anyone ever edited your wiki?
No, they did not. I had it, all the pages watched. So the one thing I didn't do a good enough job of, I kind of regret this semester, is not getting on the mailing list for Wiki Educator and some of the other education mailing lists that would have said, hey, I'm working on this, check it out, come join it. Throw some ideas on, even on the talk pages, even if it's not on the main viewable page. I did a few of those,